Hello there, and welcome to the Cozy Curiosity channel. Tonight, we're embarking on a journey into one of psychology's most fascinating territories, the landscape of personality, that unique constellation of traits, tendencies, and patterns that makes you distinctly you. We'll explore how personality forms, how it changes, and the surprising ways it influences everything, from the friends we choose to the careers we pursue. Some facts tonight will feel familiar, like recognizing yourself in a mirror. Others will be revelatory, showing you aspects of human nature you never knew existed. But each one offers a window into the remarkable diversity of how people think, feel, and move through the world. This evening, we'll wander through questions both ancient and modern. Why do some people seek excitement, while others crave calm? How much of who we are is written before birth, and how much do we author ourselves? Can personality truly change? Or are we bound by invisible threads spun in childhood? You might find yourself drifting towards sleep, or simply letting these ideas wash over you like gentle waves. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. But for now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your breathing slow, your muscles soften, and allow the wonder of human personality to unfold quietly in your mind. Let's begin. Your personality is about 40 to 60% inherited. The genetic foundation of who you are is surprisingly strong, stronger than most people realize when they imagine themselves as self-made individuals. Twin studies have revealed that identical twins raised apart often share striking similarities in temperament, preferences, and even quirks. Researchers have tracked twins separated at birth and reunited decades later, finding they've chosen similar careers, married people with similar names, given their children the same names, and even developed identical nervous habits. This doesn't mean personality is predetermined, carved in stone before birth, but rather that we're born with certain predispositions, inclinations that shape how we respond to everything we encounter. Some infants naturally reach toward novelty, while others retreat from it, cautious and observant. Some are soothed easily by gentle rocking, while others remain vigilant, alert to every sensation. These innate tendencies interact with everything we experience, creating a dynamic interplay that unfolds across decades. The remaining percentage comes from experiences, relationships, culture, and countless choices made across a lifetime. Each decision a small vote for who we're becoming. We are neither blank slates waiting to be written upon, nor fixed scripts that simply unfold, but something in between, something more mysterious and beautiful. A conversation between nature and nurture that never quite ends, never reaches a final answer. Introverts and extroverts have different brain activity patterns. When neuroscientists observe brain scans during various tasks, they find that introverts show more activity in the frontal cortex, those areas associated with planning, problem solving, and internal thought processes. Their brains are naturally oriented inward, processing the world through reflection and analysis. Extroverts, meanwhile, show heightened responses in regions linked to sensory processing and reward, their neural circuitry primed to engage with external stimuli and seek out rewarding social interactions. This suggests that introverts may naturally engage more with their internal world, finding richness in thoughts, ideas, and imagination, while extroverts are wired to seek external stimulation. drawing energy from people, places, and activities. Neither pattern is better or worse, superior or inferior. They're simply different ways of being energized and engaged with existence. An introvert might find deep satisfaction in a quiet evening with a book, the words creating whole universes in the mind's eye, while an extrovert craves the buzz of conversation and activity, the dynamic exchange of energy between people. These aren't just preferences, casual choices we make about how to spend time, but reflections of fundamental neurological differences, the very architecture of the brain influencing what feels nourishing versus depleting. Understanding this can ease the pressure to be someone you're not, releasing you from the exhausting task of pretending your brain works differently than it does, and honor the way your particular brain experiences the world with all its unique strengths and needs. Your personality influences your immune system. The mind and body are far more intertwined than we once believed, connected by invisible pathways of neurotransmitters, hormones, and signaling molecules that create constant dialogue between psychological and physical realms. Research shows that certain personality traits correlate with immune function in ways that affect everything from how often you catch colds to how quickly you recover from surgery. People high in conscientiousness, who tend to be organized, self-disciplined, and future-oriented, often have stronger immune responses, their bodies mounting more effective defenses against pathogens and showing better resistance to illness. Meanwhile, chronic hostility and high neuroticism have been linked to increased inflammation and slower healing, the body responding to psychological stress with physical consequences that accumulate over time. The mechanisms aren't fully understood, a frontier of psychoneuroimmunology still being explored, but stress hormones, sleep patterns, and health behaviors all play roles in this intricate dance. Someone who worries constantly may experience elevated cortisol levels, that stress hormone flooding the system, which can suppress immune function over time and leave the body more vulnerable. Conversely, optimistic individuals often recover from illness more quickly, possibly due to lower baseline stress, better self-care practices, and more robust social support networks. This connection reminds us that personality isn't just psychological, existing in some abstract mental realm, but reaches into the cells of our bodies, the very tissues and organs, shaping our physical resilience in ways both subtle and profound, sometimes determining whether we get sick or stay well. People with similar personalities tend to befriend each other. The old saying that opposites attract holds little truth when it comes to friendship, at least not in the way romantic comedies and pop psychology would have us believe. Instead, we gravitate toward those who mirror our own traits and values, seeking out kindred spirits who see the world through similar eyes. Conscientious people seek out other, organized, reliable individuals, finding comfort in shared respect for structure and follow-through. Those high in openness bond over shared curiosity and creativity, conversations flowing naturally into abstract ideas, artistic appreciation, and philosophical musings. This phenomenon, called homophily, creates social circles where everyone reinforces each other's worldview, each person reflecting back familiar perspectives and values. It feels comfortable, validating even, to be around people who see life similarly, who laugh at the same things, value the same qualities, and navigate social situations in recognizable ways. But it can also create echo chambers, where different perspectives rarely enter, where challenging ideas get filtered out, and where growth through difference becomes difficult. Interestingly, romantic relationships sometimes follow different patterns, with complementary traits occasionally balancing each other out. One person's organization compensating for another's spontaneity. Yet in friendship, that domain of voluntary association with no legal or biological ties, similarity is the strongest glue, the most reliable predictor of lasting connection. We find ourselves drawn to mirrors, even if we don't realize it, even if we believe we're open to all kinds of people. The data reveals our unconscious preferences, the subtle sorting that happens beneath awareness. Your handwriting reveals aspects of your personality. Graphology, the study of handwriting, has its skeptics within the scientific community, people who dismiss it as pseudoscience akin to astrology. But research suggests certain correlations exist that can't be entirely explained away. Large, expansive handwriting, letters sprawling confidently across the page, often belongs to extroverts who think big and express freely. Their personality, visible in every flourish. Small, precise script, measured and controlled, can indicate introversion and meticulous attention to detail, each letter carefully formed. Heavy pressure on the page, ink pressed deep enough to leave impressions, may suggest intensity, passion, or emotional depth, the writer putting their whole self into the physical act of writing. While light, flowing strokes, barely marking the paper, might reveal a more easygoing nature, someone who moves through life with less force and urgency. Of course, handwriting also reflects motor skills, years of education, cultural influences on penmanship, and even current mood, so it's hardly a perfect window into the soul, not a diagnostic tool that reveals all secrets. But the way we form letters does carry traces of our inner life, subtle fingerprints of personality. The speed at which you write, the spacing between words, the flourishes or restraint in capitals and signatures. All these elements create a unique script that belongs to you alone. In an age of keyboards and touchscreens, when most communication happens through standardized digital fonts, handwriting becomes almost intimate, a physical trace of thought rendered visible and enduring, a connection to the embodied self that types and swipes can never quite replace. Personality can predict job performance better than intelligence. While cognitive ability certainly matters, especially in complex technical fields requiring specialized knowledge and problem-solving skills, personality traits often determine whether someone will thrive in a role, succeed over the long term, and contribute meaningfully to an organization. Conscientiousness, in particular, is one of the strongest predictors of success across nearly every field, from medicine to manual labor, teaching to technology. Those who are organized, dependable, detail-oriented, and goal-oriented tend to excel regardless of raw intellect or natural talent. Their steady reliability and commitment to quality, carrying them forward even when others with higher IQs falter. They show up consistently, follow through on commitments, persist through setbacks, and maintain standards even when no one's watching. Emotional stability and agreeableness also play key roles, especially in jobs requiring teamwork, customer interaction, or managing relationships across organizational boundaries. The brilliant engineer who can't work with others, or the talented salesperson who melts down under pressure, ultimately delivers less value than someone with moderate ability but strong interpersonal skills and emotional regulation. Intelligence might get you through the interview, answering questions correctly and demonstrating knowledge, But personality determines whether you'll show up on time day after day, collaborate effectively with colleagues, handle criticism gracefully, and persist through the inevitable challenges that arise. Employers are increasingly recognizing this shift, using personality assessments alongside traditional measures of cognitive ability and technical skill. It turns out that who you are, how you relate to others and approach tasks, the patterns you bring to every interaction, matters just as much as what you know, perhaps even more when it comes to actual performance in the messy, unpredictable reality of work. Birth order may subtly influence personality. The idea that firstborns are responsible overachievers, middle children are neglected peacemakers, and youngest children are rebellious attention seekers has captured popular imagination for decades, becoming cultural shorthand for personality differences. While the effects are smaller than once believed, more modest than family law would suggest, some patterns do emerge when researchers analyze large datasets controlling for other factors. Firstborns often receive more parental attention early on, those crucial first years when they're the only child, the center of the parent's world, and may develop leadership qualities, perfectionist tendencies, or a stronger sense of responsibility as a result. They're often given more duties, held to higher standards, and expected to set examples for younger siblings. Younger siblings, navigating a world where others are already established, where roles and territories have been claimed, sometimes become more social and risk-taking, learning to negotiate, charm, and find creative ways to carve out their own space. They can't compete with the firstborn's head start in skills and size, so they often develop different strategies: humor, creativity, social intelligence. Middle children, caught between the pioneering firstborn and the attention-getting baby, may indeed learn negotiation and adaptability, becoming diplomats who can see multiple perspectives and mediate conflicts. However, these are tendencies, not destinies, gentle pushes rather than iron laws. Family dynamics, culture, gender, spacing between children, and individual temperament all weave together in complex ways that defy simple categorization. Birth order is one thread in the tapestry, not the whole design, influencing but not determining who we become. You have multiple personalities, and that's normal, not in the clinical sense of dissociative identity disorder, that severe condition where separate identities exist with amnesia between them, but in the everyday reality that we show different sides of ourselves in different contexts, wearing different masks not out of deception but out of psychological health. You might be assertive and commanding at work, taking charge in meetings and making difficult decisions, but gentle and accommodating at home, listening more than directing, yielding rather than insisting, playful and uninhibited with close friends, trading inside jokes and letting your guard down completely, but serious and measured with strangers, protecting your privacy and maintaining appropriate boundaries. This isn't dishonesty or fraud, some moral failure to present a unified self. It's psychological flexibility, the healthy ability to adapt behavior to fit social roles and environments without losing your core identity. Research shows that people naturally adjust their behavior to fit context, calibrating their expression of traits based on what the situation requires. The you at a job interview, polished and professional, isn't false or fake, nor is the you laughing loudly at midnight with close friends, relaxed and unfiltered. Both are authentic expressions of a multifaceted self, different angles on the same essential person. We contain multitudes, as Walt Whitman famously wrote, and this internal variety is a feature, not a bug. Problems arise only when these shifts feel forced, when you're playing a role that conflicts with your values, or when we lose track of our core values beneath all the adaptations, becoming so many things to so many people that we forget who we are when alone. The healthiest personalities are those that can flow between contexts while maintaining an inner sense of continuity, a through line of values and self-knowledge that persists across all the different versions we become. Personality becomes more stable as you age. If you've noticed that older people seem more set in their ways, resistant to change, and predictable in their responses, there's neuroscience behind the observation, biological mechanisms that make this settling inevitable for most people. Personality is relatively fluid in childhood and adolescence, those years of rapid development and identity exploration, when we're trying on different selves like clothing. It continues evolving through our 20s as we establish careers, form long-term relationships, and gradually clarify who we are through the consequences of our choices. But around age 30, something settles. A crystallization begins. The big 5 traits: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism begin to stabilize, their rank order becoming more fixed, even if absolute levels still shift slightly. By 60, most people's personalities have solidified considerably, become largely resistant to change without major intervention. This doesn't mean change is impossible, that we're forever locked into patterns, but it becomes less likely without deliberate effort, conscious work, or major life events that shake the foundations. There's comfort in this stability, a sense of knowing who you are, being able to predict your own reactions, and having others know what to expect from you. Relationships deepen when people can rely on your consistency. But it also means that the person you're becoming in your youth, the traits you're strengthening, and the patterns you're establishing will likely be with you for decades, perhaps the rest of your life. Choose wisely who you want to be, because that person is unlikely to fundamentally change without tremendous effort. Your personality affects how you perceive time. Time isn't as objective as clocks and calendars suggest, not the universal constant that physics describes. How we experience its passage depends partly on temperament, the inner architecture, shaping whether minutes feel like hours or hours disappear in what seems like minutes. People high in neuroticism, prone to anxiety and worry, rumination and vigilance, often feel time pressure more acutely, the weight of deadlines and the passage of moments creating constant urgency. Minutes can feel like hours when you're stressed, when your mind is racing through worst-case scenarios, and your body is flooded with cortisol. The subjective experience of waiting becomes almost unbearable. Meanwhile, those high in openness, who get absorbed in ideas and experiences, may lose track of time entirely, falling into flow states where hours pass unnoticed. They're the people who miss appointments not from carelessness, but from complete immersion in whatever captured their attention. Extroverts tend to feel time passes quickly in social settings, energy and stimulation making hours fly by, while introverts might experience the opposite, social interaction feeling extended and draining, every minute noticed. Conscientiousness correlates with punctuality and time awareness, not because conscientious people have better internal clocks or superior time management skills, but because they mentally structure time more carefully, dividing it into segments and tracking progress against mental schedules. Our inner clock is calibrated not just by the sun's movement or the turning of Earth, but by our emotional and cognitive patterns, making each person's experience of time uniquely their own, a private river flowing at its own pace. Personality traits predict political beliefs. While we like to think our politics are based purely on reason and values, arrived at through careful consideration of evidence and principles, personality plays a surprising and somewhat uncomfortable role in shaping our ideological leanings. People high in openness to experience tend toward liberal or progressive views, drawn to change, novelty, and new ideas, naturally skeptical of tradition, simply because it's traditional. They value diversity, creativity, and exploration of alternative ways of living. Those high in conscientiousness often lean conservative, valuing order, tradition, stability, and established structures that have proven their worth over time. They trust in hierarchy, respect authority, and prefer gradual change to revolutionary upheaval. Fear sensitivity, part of the neuroticism dimension, can also influence political orientation, with higher anxiety sometimes correlating with more conservative positions on security, immigration, and law enforcement. The threat detection system running hot. This doesn't mean personality determines politics entirely, that we're mere puppets of our temperament. Culture, education, personal experiences, and life events all matter enormously. But the correlation is strong enough that psychologists can predict political leanings with reasonable accuracy just from personality profiles, without knowing anything else about a person. We are, it seems, shaped by temperament in ways that reach far beyond personal habits, extending into how we envision society itself, what we fear, and what we hope for collectively, and which values we prioritize when they come into conflict with each other. Gratitude practices can shift personality over time. While personality is stable, especially after age 30, it's not immutable or carved in stone, not completely resistant to change. Regular gratitude exercises, like keeping a journal of things you're thankful for each evening, or mentally noting 3 good things before bed, have been shown to increase agreeableness and emotional stability over months and years of consistent practice. The practice doesn't just change mood temporarily, providing a brief lift before returning to baseline, but seems to rewire habitual thought patterns at a deeper level, creating new neural pathways that become the default over time. Focusing on positive aspects of life, training attention toward what's good and working rather than what's wrong and broken can reduce neuroticism, making you less prone to anxiety and negative emotions, less likely to catastrophize or ruminate. It can also enhance openness by training attention toward the good in unexpected places, finding beauty and meaning in ordinary moments, developing appreciation for diverse experiences. The changes are gradual, almost imperceptible day to day, like tree rings growing invisibly, but compound over time into noticeable personality shifts. This suggests that personality, while rooted in biology and early experience, deeply influenced by genes and childhood environments, remains responsive to intentional practice throughout life. Small, consistent actions, repeated daily or weekly with patience and commitment, can gently reshape who we are, nudging traits in desired directions, proving that we're not entirely at the mercy of our temperamental inheritance. You judge your own personality differently than others do. When asked to describe ourselves, We tend to emphasize internal states, intentions, and the reasons behind our actions. All the complex motivations and feelings that we alone can access. But others judge us based on behavior, on what they observe from the outside, the visible patterns of what we actually do, rather than what we intend or feel. This creates a fundamental gap, an unbridgeable divide between self-perception and external perception. You might see yourself as shy because you feel anxious inside, your stomach churning before social events, your mind racing with worries about what to say, while others see you as aloof or unfriendly because you don't initiate conversation, standing apart from groups, leaving quickly. Research shows that friends and family often assess our personality more accurately than we do, especially for traits like emotional stability and conscientiousness. Those qualities more visible in behavior than accessible through introspection. They see patterns we're blind to, habits we rationalize away, tendencies we don't recognize as characteristic because they feel like isolated incidents to us. This isn't to say their view is the true you and your self-knowledge is false, but it highlights how personality exists both as inner experience and outward expression, a dual nature that creates inevitable disconnect. Who we think we are and who we actually are in the world, as measured by our impact on others and our behavioral patterns, may never perfectly align, leaving each of us slightly mysterious, even to ourselves. Personality disorders exist on a spectrum with normal traits. There's no hard line between a normal personality and a disordered one. Disorders like narcissistic, borderline, or obsessive-compulsive personality disorders are extreme versions of common traits. Everyone has some narcissism. It becomes pathological only when it dominates and damages relationships. Everyone experiences emotional fluctuations. But in borderline personality disorder, these swings are intense and destabilizing. Understanding this spectrum helps reduce stigma. It reminds us that mental health isn't binary and that we all carry shadows of these patterns within us. The difference lies in degree, flexibility, and impact. A healthy personality adapts to circumstances. A disordered one remains rigid even when causing harm. This spectrum view encourages compassion both for others and for the parts of ourselves we struggle to accept. Your personality influences your taste in music. The songs that move you aren't random. Research links personality traits to musical preferences in consistent patterns. People high in openness gravitate toward complex, unconventional music like jazz, classical, or indie. Extroverts prefer upbeat, energetic genres like pop, hip-hop, and electronic dance. Those high in conscientiousness often enjoy structured, traditional music, while neurotic individuals may seek emotional, reflective songs that mirror their inner turbulence. Even the volume at which you listen correlates with temperament. This connection runs deep. Music doesn't just reflect who we are. It can also regulate our emotional state. An anxious person might choose calming melodies, while someone seeking stimulation cranks up intense beats. In this way, personality and music engage in a continuous dance, each shaping the other. Personality affects how long you live. Conscientiousness is one of the strongest personality predictors of longevity. People who are organized, self-disciplined, and goal-oriented tend to live several years longer than those low in this trait. The reasons are multiple. Conscientious individuals are more likely to exercise, eat well, avoid risky behaviors, and follow medical advice. They also build stable lives with less chaos and stress. Interestingly, moderate extroversion also correlates with longer life, likely due to strong social networks providing emotional support. On the flip side, high neuroticism, chronic worry, and negative emotion is linked to earlier mortality, possibly through stress-related illness. Your personality shapes not just how you live, but how long. The patterns you embody ripple through your body's cells and systems, quietly influencing your years. Personality is more consistent across situations than you think. While we adapt to different contexts, research shows our core traits remain surprisingly stable. You might be quieter at work and louder with friends, but your underlying level of extroversion stays relatively constant. This stability is part of what makes personality useful as a concept. If we were completely different in every situation, the idea of a self would be meaningless. Studies tracking people across multiple contexts find that while behavior varies, the rank order of traits within a person stays steady. You might be more agreeable than conscientious in both work and home settings, even if the absolute levels shift. This core consistency is what allows others to know you, to predict how you'll react, to trust in your continuity. Beneath the surface adaptations, something essential endures. Your personality influences your dreams. The inner world of sleep reflects waking temperament in unexpected ways. People high in neuroticism report more nightmares and anxiety dreams. Their waking worries follow them into sleep, manifesting as threatening scenarios or feelings of helplessness. Those high in openness experience more vivid, bizarre, and creative dreams, their imagination continuing to explore even in unconsciousness. Extroverts' dreams often feature more people and social interactions, while introverts dream in quieter, more solitary settings. Even conscientiousness shows up. Highly conscientious people sometimes dream of tasks, deadlines, and responsibilities. Our sleeping mind isn't a blank canvas, but a continuation of who we are, processing, organizing, and expressing through the strange grammar of dreams. The same patterns that shape our days also shape our nights. People often misjudge their own personality traits. Self-perception is notoriously unreliable. Most people rate themselves as above average in desirable traits and below average in undesirable ones, a statistical impossibility. We overestimate our openness, thinking ourselves more creative and curious than we actually are. We underestimate our neuroticism, downplaying our anxieties and moodiness. This isn't deliberate dishonesty, but a cognitive bias called self-enhancement. Our brains protect our self-esteem by filtering feedback and emphasizing evidence that confirms our preferred self-image. Strangers, free from this bias, often assess us more accurately after just a few interactions. This is humbling. The person we think we are may be a kind fiction, useful for motivation and self-esteem, but only loosely tethered to the person others encounter. True self-knowledge requires external mirrors. Personality changes can follow major life events. Trauma, parenthood, career shifts, and relationship changes can all reshape personality in lasting ways. Becoming a parent often increases conscientiousness and emotional stability as people adapt to new responsibilities. Surviving a serious illness can boost openness and reduce neuroticism, priorities shifting after confronting mortality. Even positive events like marriage can alter traits, often making people more agreeable and less neurotic. These changes occur because major events force us into new roles and perspectives. We're not just responding temporarily, but reorganizing our sense of self around new realities. However, change isn't guaranteed. Some people weather enormous upheavals without shifting much at all. It depends on the person, the event, and whether they actively integrate the experience into a new understanding of who they are. Your personality is visible in your online behavior. Social media profiles, email patterns, and even word choice in texts reveal personality with surprising accuracy. Algorithms can predict big 5 traits from Facebook likes alone. Extroverts post more frequently, share more photos, and have larger friend networks. Conscientious people use proper grammar and punctuation. Neurotics express more negative emotions and post late at night. Openness shows in varied interests and abstract language. We think we're just sharing thoughts, but we're broadcasting our deepest patterns. This visibility is both fascinating and unsettling. It means personality leaves digital fingerprints everywhere we go online, traceable by anyone with the right tools. The self we project in pixels is not separate from our real self. It's an extension, honest in ways we might not intend. Personality affects your social media use and mental health. The relationship between personality, technology, and well-being is complex. Extroverts generally benefit from social media, using it to maintain connections and feel energized. Introverts might find it draining or prefer deeper, one-on-one digital conversations. People high in neuroticism are more vulnerable to social media's negative effects: comparison, anxiety, and FOMO. They might check platforms compulsively, seeking validation but often finding more reasons to worry. Conscientious individuals, meanwhile, tend to use technology more purposefully and set healthier boundaries. This means social media isn't inherently good or bad for mental health. Its impact depends on who's using it and how. Understanding your temperament can help you navigate digital spaces in ways that support rather than undermine your well-being. Personality influences how you cope with stress. When pressure mounts, people respond in characteristically different ways. Those high in neuroticism often use emotion-focused coping, ruminating, venting, or seeking comfort. This can provide short-term relief, but may not solve the underlying problem. People high in conscientiousness lean toward problem-focused coping, making plans, breaking challenges into steps, and working systematically. Extroverts seek social support, talking through problems with friends, while introverts might withdraw to think independently. Openness correlates with flexible coping, trying new strategies and reframing situations creatively. No single approach is always best. Effectiveness depends on the stressor and context, but knowing your default patterns can help you expand your repertoire, adopting different strategies when your usual methods aren't working. Your personality affects your posture and physical presence. The way you carry yourself in space isn't just habit, it's an expression of temperament. Extroverts tend to take up more space, gesturing broadly, making direct eye contact, and standing with open postures. Introverts often minimize their physical presence, crossing arms, avoiding prolonged eye contact, and occupying less space. High neuroticism can manifest as tense shoulders and protective stances, while emotional stability shows in relaxed, grounded posture. Even walking gait correlates with personality. Conscientious people walk with purpose and regularity, while those high in openness might meander, pausing to notice things. This embodiment runs both ways. Changing your posture can temporarily shift your emotional state, suggesting that personality lives not just in the mind but in the muscles and bones as well. People's personalities influence their pets' personalities. If you've noticed that dogs often resemble their owners, there's research behind the observation. Owners high in neuroticism tend to have more anxious, reactive pets. Extroverted owners often have more social, energetic animals. Conscientious people train their pets more consistently, resulting in better behaved companions. The mechanisms are multifaceted. We choose pets that match our temperament. We model behaviors that pets mirror. And we create home environments that shape their development. A calm, structured household produces different pet behavior than a chaotic, unpredictable one. In a way, pets become extensions of our personalities, absorbing our emotional climate and reflecting it back. The bond between owner and animal is deeper than mere companionship. It's a shared personality ecosystem. Personality traits can predict susceptibility to misinformation. Not everyone is equally vulnerable to fake news and conspiracy theories. Research shows that people low in intellectual humility, a component of openness, are more likely to believe misinformation. They're confident in their initial judgments and less likely to update beliefs when presented with contradictory evidence. High neuroticism can also increase susceptibility, as anxious individuals may be drawn to threatening narratives that confirm their fears. Conscientiousness, surprisingly, can cut both ways. It promotes careful evaluation, but also rigid thinking. Critical thinking isn't just about intelligence, it's about personality. The traits that make you curious, humble, and willing to revise your views also protect you from falsehoods. In an age of information overload, personality may be a key factor in navigating truth. Your personality influences your moral values. The ethical principles you hold aren't formed in a vacuum. They're partly shaped by temperament. People high in openness tend to prioritize fairness and care, valuing harm reduction and equality. Those high in conscientiousness often emphasize duty, respect for authority, and tradition. Agreeable individuals focus on compassion and avoiding harm to others, while those lower in agreeableness might prioritize justice, even at the expense of kindness. These patterns create moral diversity within societies. Different personality types, emphasizing different aspects of right and wrong. Understanding this can foster empathy. The person who disagrees with your moral stance may not be ignorant or malicious, but experiencing ethics through a different temperamental lens. Morality, it turns out, is personal in more ways than we realized. Personality affects your sense of humor. What makes you laugh reveals something about who you are. People high in openness appreciate absurd, surreal, and intellectually complex humor. They enjoy wordplay, irony, and jokes that challenge conventional thinking. Extroverts prefer social, upbeat humor and are more likely to laugh loudly in groups. Those high in agreeableness avoid humor that targets or demeans others, while lower agreeableness correlates with enjoying darker, more aggressive jokes. Neuroticism can make people sensitive to humor at their own expense, but drawn to self-deprecating comedy as a coping mechanism. Even the act of making jokes reflects personality. Some use humor to connect, others to deflect, and still others to think. Laughter, that most human of responses, is filtered through the unique architecture of each person's temperament. Personality can influence your susceptibility to advertising. Marketers have long known that different messages appeal to different people. Now, research reveals these preferences often align with personality. Extroverts respond to ads emphasizing excitement, social connection, and bold imagery. Introverts prefer understated, informative content that allows for personal reflection. Conscientious consumers value reliability and proven track records, while those high in openness seek novelty and uniqueness. Neurotic individuals may be more influenced by fear-based marketing, warnings about what they could lose. Understanding these patterns has made advertising increasingly personalized, targeted not just by demographics, but by psychological profiles. It's a reminder that persuasion works through the doorways of temperament, appealing to what each personality naturally values and fears. Personality remains partly mysterious, even to scientists. Despite decades of research, fundamental questions persist. Why do these particular traits, the Big Five, emerge so consistently across cultures and studies? What evolutionary pressures shape them? How exactly do genes translate into behavioral tendencies? Why do some people change dramatically, while others remain stable? These mysteries keep the field vibrant, each answer spawning new questions. We know enough to see patterns, to make predictions, to help people understand themselves. But personality retains an essential complexity that resists complete explanation. Perhaps it always will. The human soul, if we can call it that, exceeds the grasp of any single framework. We are knowable and unknowable at once, patterns with depth that science illuminates but never fully exhausts. Cultural factors shape personality expression differently. While the Big Five traits appear across cultures, how they're expressed and valued varies enormously. In collectivist societies, agreeableness and conscientiousness are often prioritized, harmony and duty outweighing individual expression. In individualistic cultures, openness and extroversion may be more celebrated. Even within a culture, subgroups differ. Urban environments might reward extroversion, while rural areas favor conscientiousness. These cultural overlays don't erase innate temperament, but channel it into culturally acceptable forms. An introverted person in an extroverted culture might develop social skills that mask their natural reserve, while an extrovert in a reserved culture learns restraint. Personality is always a conversation between individual nature and cultural expectation, each shaping the other in an endless, complex dance. Your personality affects how you navigate physical spaces, the routes you take, the places you linger. Even how you orient yourself in a room reflect temperament. Extroverts tend to choose central, visible locations and prefer open spaces where interaction is possible. Introverts gravitate toward edges, corners, and places with easy exits. People high in neuroticism scan environments for potential threats, while those low in this trait move through space with less vigilance. Openness correlates with exploration, taking new routes and noticing environmental details. Conscientious individuals prefer familiar, predictable paths. These patterns are subtle, often unconscious, but they reveal how personality extends beyond thought and emotion into our basic relationship with the physical world. We each inhabit space in our own characteristic way. Personality influences your relationship with money. How you earn, spend, save, and think about money isn't just about economics. It's psychological. Conscientious people are better savers, planning for the future and resisting impulse purchases. Extroverts spend more on experiences and social activities, valuing connection over accumulation. Neurotics may either hoard money out of anxiety or spend impulsively to ease stress. Openness correlates with diverse financial interests, from investing in art to trying new business ventures. Agreeable people are generous, but sometimes to their own detriment, giving more than they can afford. These patterns can create financial success or struggle, regardless of income level. Understanding your personality's relationship with money can help you build habits that align with your natural tendencies while compensating for potential pitfalls. Personality shapes your aesthetic preferences, the art that moves you, the spaces you find beautiful, the colors you're drawn to, all correlate with temperament. People high in openness prefer complex, unconventional aesthetics, abstract art, eclectic decor, and bold color combinations. Those lower in openness favor traditional, representational art and familiar, harmonious designs. Extroverts are drawn to bright, stimulating environments, while introverts prefer muted, calming spaces. Conscientious individuals often choose minimalist, orderly aesthetics, while those lower in this trait might embrace creative chaos. These preferences aren't arbitrary or purely learned. They reflect deeper psychological needs, the environments and images that resonate with our inner architecture. Beauty, as they say, is in the eye of the beholder, and that eye is shaped by personality. Personality affects your sense of direction. Getting lost or finding your way might be more about temperament than you'd think. People high in openness tend to explore more and take mental notes of environments, building richer spatial maps. Conscientious individuals follow directions carefully and plan routes in advance. Neurotic people might experience more anxiety when lost, which can impair spatial reasoning, while emotionally stable people stay calm and problem-solve effectively. Interestingly, confidence in navigation doesn't always correlate with actual ability. Some people overestimate their sense of direction due to personality traits like low neuroticism or high extroversion. Understanding these patterns can help you choose navigation strategies that work with your temperament rather than against it, whether that means detailed planning or trusting your exploratory instincts. Time. Tens. Personality influences your response to authority. How you relate to bosses, teachers, police, and other authority figures isn't just about respect or rebellion. It's temperamental. People high in conscientiousness generally respect structure and follow rules, viewing authority as necessary for order. Those high in openness may question authority, valuing independent thought and resisting conventional hierarchies. Agreeableness makes people more compliant and eager to please, while low agreeableness correlates with challenging directives. Neuroticism can make interactions with authority anxiety-inducing, leading either to overcompliance or defensive resistance. These patterns play out in workplaces, schools, and civic life, shaping everything from job satisfaction to political engagement. Understanding your natural stance toward authority can help you navigate power dynamics more consciously. Personality affects how you experience nature. A walk in the woods isn't the same experience for everyone. People high in openness notice more details, the patterns of bark, the quality of light, the subtle sounds. They report deeper aesthetic and spiritual experiences in natural settings. Extroverts might prefer nature as a backdrop for social activities, hiking with friends or group camping. Introverts seek solitude in nature, finding restoration in quiet communion with the non-human world. Conscientious people often approach nature with purpose, tracking miles, identifying species, or pursuing fitness goals. Meanwhile, those high in neuroticism might feel vulnerable in wild spaces, or conversely, find profound relief from the absence of social demands. Nature doesn't change, but the self we bring to it shapes what we receive. Your personality influences your learning style. The way you absorb and process information is partly temperamental. Extroverts often learn best through discussion and group work, thinking out loud and bouncing ideas off others. Introverts prefer independent study, reading, and reflection. People high in openness thrive with creative, unstructured learning that allows exploration, while conscientious learners excel with clear objectives, deadlines, and systematic approaches. Neurotic students may struggle with test anxiety, but benefit from structured support and reassurance. Understanding your personality's learning preferences can transform education from struggle to flow. It explains why the same teaching method inspires one student and frustrates another. Learning is most effective when it works with, not against, your natural inclinations. Personality shapes your relationship with technology. Beyond social media, your temperament influences how you adopt and use all technology. Early adopters of new devices and platforms tend to be high in openness, drawn to novelty and complexity. Conscientious people research thoroughly before adopting technology and use it systematically. Extroverts use technology for connection and communication, while introverts might prefer technologies that enhance solitary activities. Neurotic individuals may experience more technology-related anxiety, from fear of missing notifications to worry about privacy. As technology becomes more integrated into daily life, these personality patterns determine not just what we use, but how it affects our well-being. The same smartphone can be a tool of connection or a source of stress, depending on who's holding it. Personality affects your experience of pain. Pain isn't purely physical. Temperament modulates how we perceive and cope with it. People high in neuroticism report more intense pain and have lower pain tolerance, their anxiety amplifying discomfort. Extroverts, meanwhile, may experience pain as less severe, possibly due to different neurological processing or greater social support. Conscientiousness correlates with better pain management through disciplined self-care and adherence to treatment. Openness might help people reframe pain using mindfulness or creative visualization. These differences are significant enough that doctors increasingly consider personality when treating chronic pain. The same injury can create vastly different suffering depending on the psychological lens through which it's experienced. Pain, like all experience, is filtered through the self. Personality influences your reading preferences. The books that call to you from shelves aren't random. People high in openness gravitate toward literary fiction, experimental narratives, and diverse genres. They seek novelty and complexity in their reading. Those high in conscientiousness often prefer non-fiction, self-help, and structured narratives with clear resolutions. Extroverts might enjoy dialogue-heavy, fast-paced stories with multiple characters, while introverts prefer introspective, character-driven narratives. Neurotic readers are drawn to emotional, intense stories that explore inner turmoil, while emotionally stable readers might prefer lighter, more optimistic fare. Even within genres, personality shapes taste. Two people can both love mystery novels, but for entirely different temperamental reasons. Reading is intimate, a conversation between the book and your particular way of being. Personality shapes your relationship with risk. Risk tolerance isn't just about courage or calculation. It's deeply rooted in temperament. People high in openness and extroversion tend to be more risk-seeking, drawn to novelty and stimulation. They're more likely to try extreme sports, invest in volatile markets, or move to new cities on a whim. High neuroticism makes people risk-averse, the potential for negative outcomes looming larger than possible rewards. Conscientiousness has a complex relationship with risk. High conscientiousness usually means careful evaluation and preparation, but this can enable calculated risks that others might avoid. These patterns extend from physical dangers to social and financial risks. The same opportunity looks different through different temperamental lenses. Terrifying to one person, exhilarating to another. Personality affects your sleep patterns. The relationship between temperament and sleep runs deeper than you might expect. People high in neuroticism often struggle with insomnia, their minds churning with worries that resist sleep's approach. They're also more likely to experience nightmares and restless sleep. Conscientious people tend to maintain regular sleep schedules and better sleep hygiene. Extroverts often sleep less than introverts, but may need less to feel rested. Morning people versus night owls also show personality correlates. Morning types tend toward higher conscientiousness, while evening types often score higher in openness. These aren't just preferences, but reflections of deeper biological rhythms interacting with temperament. Your personality doesn't just shape your waking hours. It follows you into the dark. Personality influences your Instagram feed, and you don't even realize it. Algorithms learn your personality faster than you might learn it yourself. The images you linger on, the posts you like, the accounts you follow, all telegraph your traits. Feed an algorithm enough data, and it can predict your openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism with eerie accuracy. Then it tailors your feed to reinforce these patterns. Extroverts see more social content. Neurotic users get more emotionally charged posts. Open individuals encounter diverse, unusual content. The feed becomes a mirror and a shaper, reflecting your personality back while also reinforcing it. You think you're just scrolling, but you're engaged in a feedback loop that both reveals and intensifies who you are. Personality affects your response to criticism. How you receive feedback says as much about you as the feedback itself. People high in neuroticism often take criticism personally, experiencing it as devastating even when it's constructive. Their minds replay critical comments endlessly, amplifying the emotional impact. Those low in neuroticism brush off criticism more easily, sometimes too easily, missing valuable feedback. High agreeableness makes people more receptive to criticism, but also more hurt by it. Low agreeableness can manifest as defensiveness or dismissiveness. Openness helps people consider criticism objectively, weighing its merit without immediate emotional reaction. Conscientious individuals often seek out criticism, viewing it as information for improvement. Understanding your default response can help you develop a more balanced relationship with feedback, neither devastated nor deaf to it. Personality shapes your experience of loneliness. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about the gap between desired and actual social connection. And that gap is perceived through personality. Extroverts experience loneliness more acutely when isolated, their need for stimulation and interaction going unmet. Introverts can be alone without feeling lonely, finding solitude restorative rather than depleting. High neuroticism intensifies loneliness, making it feel more painful and harder to remedy. Agreeable people might suppress loneliness to avoid burdening others, while those low in agreeableness might not recognize their need for connection until it becomes acute. Openness doesn't prevent loneliness, but might make people more willing to seek diverse forms of connection. The same objective social situation can feel completely different depending on your temperamental expectations and needs. Personality influences your ability to delay gratification. The famous marshmallow test, where children choose between one treat now or two later, reveals more than willpower. It reveals temperament. Conscientiousness is the strongest predictor of delayed gratification in both children and adults. The ability to envision future rewards and maintain discipline toward them is fundamentally tied to this trait. High neuroticism can undermine delay, as immediate relief from anxiety becomes irresistible. Openness might help people reframe waiting as interesting rather than frustrating. These patterns have profound life impacts. The ability to delay gratification predicts everything from academic success to financial stability. It's not just about strength of will, but about your personality's relationship with time, future, and self-control. Personality affects how you apologize. The words "I'm sorry" emerge differently from different temperaments. Highly agreeable people apologize readily, sometimes excessively, prioritizing harmony over accuracy about fault. They might apologize for things beyond their control just to ease tension. Those low in agreeableness struggle to apologize even when clearly wrong, viewing it as weakness or submission. High neuroticism makes apologies anxious and over-explained, while low neuroticism allows for brief, confident acknowledgements of error. Conscientiousness influences whether people follow apologies with changed behavior. Extroverts might apologize publicly and emotionally, while introverts prefer private, sincere conversations. The same transgression can be apologized for in radically different ways, each sincere, but shaped by the personality behind it. Personality influences your comfort with silence. Some people fill every quiet moment with sound, talk, music, podcasts, anything to avoid emptiness. Others seek silence as a refuge. Extroverts often find extended silence uncomfortable, interpreting it as awkward or heavy with unspoken tension. They're more likely to fill silences with conversation or background noise. Introverts not only tolerate silence, but crave it, finding it necessary for cognitive and emotional restoration. High neuroticism can make silence anxiety-inducing, the absence of external stimulation allowing internal worries to surface. Openness might correlate with appreciating silence as space for creativity and reflection. Even in relationships, silence means different things. For some, comfortable silence is intimacy's highest form. For others, it's a void that threatens connection. Personality shapes your driving behavior. How you operate a vehicle reveals temperament in concentrated form. Conscientious drivers follow rules, maintain their vehicles, and drive defensively. Those low in conscientiousness are more likely to speed, skip maintenance, and drive recklessly. Neuroticism correlates with anxious, overly cautious driving, or paradoxically, with road rage when stress overwhelms. Extroverts drive faster and take more risks, seeking stimulation even behind the wheel. Agreeableness makes people courteous drivers who let others merge, while low agreeableness shows in aggressive, competitive driving. Openness might make drivers more adaptable to new routes and situations. These patterns are so consistent that insurance companies increasingly use personality assessments. Your temperament doesn't just influence where you go, but how you get there. Personality affects your relationship with rules. Rules are everywhere, explicit and implicit, and we each relate to them differently. High conscientiousness creates rule followers who find security in structure and feel genuine discomfort when violating norms. Low conscientiousness makes people more flexible, viewing rules as guidelines that can be adapted to circumstances. High openness leads to questioning rules, testing boundaries, and resisting arbitrary constraints. Low openness accepts established rules without much scrutiny. Agreeableness makes people follow social rules to maintain harmony, while low agreeableness might break rules out of indifference to others' reactions. These differences create friction in societies that require both stability and adaptation. We need some people to uphold rules and others to question them, each temperament contributing something essential. Personality influences how you experience music emotionally. Music's emotional impact isn't universal. It's filtered through temperament. People high in openness report more intense, transcendent experiences with music. They're more likely to get chills, feel transported, or cry. Extroverts experience music as energizing and social, while introverts might use it for introspection and emotional processing. Neurotic individuals often use music to regulate mood, seeking songs that match or counter their emotional state. Conscientious people might appreciate music's technical aspects, structure, and skill. These differences extend to what emotions music evokes. The same song can make one person melancholic, another energized, another intellectually engaged. Music doesn't just express emotion, it interacts with the listener's personality to create a unique emotional event every time. Personality shapes your curiosity patterns. Not all curiosity is the same. Openness drives broad, exploratory curiosity, the desire to learn about diverse topics for their own sake. Conscientious curiosity is more focused and goal-directed, seeking information to solve specific problems. Extroverts express curiosity socially, asking questions and engaging others. Introverts pursue curiosity independently through reading and observation. High neuroticism can both fuel and inhibit curiosity. Anxiety making people seek information to reduce uncertainty, but also making new situations feel threatening. These different curiosity styles lead to different knowledge acquisition. Some people become generalists with wide but shallow knowledge. Others develop deep expertise in narrow domains. Neither is superior. Both reflect personality, finding its natural path toward understanding. Personality affects your nostalgia. Looking backward isn't the same experience for everyone. People high in neuroticism experience nostalgia more frequently and intensely, often with a bittersweet or melancholic quality. The past becomes a refuge from present anxieties. Extroverts' nostalgia tends to be social, remembering gatherings, friendships, and shared experiences. Introverts might feel nostalgic for personal moments of peace or discovery. Openness influences the content of nostalgia, remembering novel experiences, travels, and transformative moments. Conscientiousness might make people nostalgic for times of accomplishment and order. Nostalgia isn't just memory. It's memory filtered through current emotional needs and temperamental tendencies, a way of constructing a past that speaks to who we are now. Personality influences your relationship with animals. How you interact with non-human creatures reflects temperament. Highly agreeable people often have strong bonds with animals, showing empathy and care. Openness correlates with interest in diverse animal species and willingness to interact with unusual pets. Extroverts might prefer active, playful animals, while introverts bond with quieter, more independent creatures. Conscientious people provide consistent care and training. Neurotic individuals might either avoid animals due to worry about responsibility or form intense attachments that ease anxiety. Even within pet ownership, personality shows. Some people treat pets as family members, others as companions, still others as responsibilities. The human-animal bond, like all bonds, is shaped by the human personality forming it. Personality shapes how you use metaphors. The figurative language you naturally employ reveals temperament. People high in openness use more metaphors and more creative ones, seeing connections between dissimilar things and expressing them poetically. Those lower in openness stick to literal language and conventional expressions. Extroverts' metaphors tend to be social and dynamic, while introverts use more introspective, static imagery. Conscientious people might avoid metaphors in professional contexts, preferring precision. Neurotic individuals sometimes use catastrophic metaphors, describing minor setbacks as disasters. These patterns appear in both speech and writing, creating distinct linguistic fingerprints. Metaphor isn't just decoration. It's a window into how personality organizes and expresses experience. Personality affects your relationship with weather. Some people are barely aware of weather, while others are deeply affected. High neuroticism correlates with weather sensitivity, mood shifting with clouds and sunshine. Grey days can trigger sadness. Bright days can lift spirits. Extroverts often prefer dynamic, stimulating weather, thunderstorms and wind, while introverts might appreciate gentle rain or quiet snow. Openness makes people more likely to notice weather's aesthetic qualities. Conscientious individuals plan around weather rather than being surprised by it. These preferences run deep enough that they influence where people choose to live. Some need seasonal variety for psychological stimulation. Others require consistent climate for emotional stability. The atmosphere above isn't just physical, it's psychological, interacting with temperament in subtle but persistent ways. Personality influences your sense of personal space. The invisible bubble around your body varies by temperament. Extroverts have smaller personal space requirements, comfortable with physical closeness and frequent touch. Introverts need larger buffers. Feeling encroached upon by proximity, others wouldn't notice. High neuroticism makes people more sensitive to spatial violations, experiencing them as threatening or stressful. Openness might make someone adaptable to different cultural norms around space. Agreeableness influences willingness to let others into personal space, while low agreeableness maintains firmer boundaries. These differences create invisible choreography in every interaction, each person navigating according to their own spatial needs. When temperaments mismatch, one person's comfortable distance is another's invasion. Personality shapes your relationship with uncertainty. Life is fundamentally unpredictable, and how we handle this reality is temperamental. High neuroticism makes uncertainty feel intolerable, driving people to seek control, overplan, or avoid ambiguous situations entirely. Low neuroticism allows comfortable coexistence with the unknown. Openness actually makes people seek uncertainty, viewing it as opportunity for discovery rather than threat. Conscientiousness leads to mitigating uncertainty through preparation and structure. These patterns affect everything from career choices to relationship styles. Some people build lives that minimize uncertainty, choosing stable jobs, predictable routines, and clear paths. Others embrace uncertainty, seeking adventure, spontaneity, and possibility. Neither approach is wrong. Each is a temperamental response to life's essential mystery. Personality affects your experience of awe. Awe, that overwhelming feeling of being in the presence of something greater than yourself, doesn't visit everyone equally. People high in openness report more frequent and intense awe experiences. They're more attuned to beauty, complexity, and vastness. Extroverts might experience awe in social contexts, feeling swept up in collective experiences. Introverts find awe in solitary encounters with nature or ideas. High neuroticism can actually enhance awe, the usual boundaries of self already fluid with emotion. Conscientiousness might make awe less frequent but more profound, as people high in this trait rarely let themselves be overwhelmed. Awe is often considered transcendent, beyond personality, but even transcendence is experienced through the filter of temperament. Personality influences your relationship with alcohol. How you drink, if you drink, reflects temperament in consistent patterns. Extroverts are more likely to drink in social settings and report enjoying alcohol's social lubricant effects. Introverts drink less frequently, but might use alcohol to ease social anxiety. High neuroticism correlates with problematic drinking patterns, using alcohol to self-medicate anxiety or depression. Conscientiousness generally protects against alcohol abuse through self-regulation, though it can manifest as rigid abstinence. Openness predicts experimentation with different types of alcohol and drinking contexts. These patterns help explain why some people develop problematic relationships with alcohol, while others can take it or leave it. The substance is the same. The personality consuming it is not. Personality shapes your problem-solving approach. When faced with a challenge, people attack it in characteristically different ways. Those high in openness generate many creative solutions, sometimes too many to evaluate efficiently. Conscientious people approach problems methodically, breaking them into steps and working systematically. Extroverts brainstorm aloud, needing verbal processing and feedback. Introverts think problems through internally before speaking. High neuroticism can either paralyze problem-solving with anxiety or fuel intense focus to eliminate the stressor. Low neuroticism allows calm, steady work. These approaches aren't just preferences. They're expressions of how personality organizes cognitive processes. The same problem looks different, requires different tools, when viewed through different temperamental lenses. Personality affects your relationship with change. Change is life's only constant, yet people relate to it in opposing ways. High openness makes people change seekers, deliberately disrupting routine for novelty and growth. They view change as opportunity. Low openness creates change resistors who find security in consistency and view disruption as threatening. Neuroticism makes change anxiety-inducing regardless of its nature, while emotional stability allows adaptation without distress. Conscientious people manage change through planning and preparation. Extroverts might seek change in their social lives, while introverts prefer stability in relationships. but change in ideas. These patterns create different life trajectories. Some lives are characterized by reinvention, others by deepening. Both can be rich, each honoring a different temperamental truth. Personality influences your relationship with secrets. Everyone keeps some things private, but how this feels varies by temperament. High neuroticism makes secret-keeping burdensome, the weight of unshared information creating anxiety. Introverts have more secrets simply because they share less overall. Extroverts might struggle to keep secrets, needing to verbalize thoughts and experiences. Conscientious people take secret-keeping seriously as a matter of integrity. Those low in conscientiousness might reveal secrets carelessly. Openness can make people want to share everything, viewing secrecy as inauthentic, or conversely, appreciate privacy as protecting inner complexity. The secrets we keep and how we keep them reveal the boundaries we draw between self and world, boundaries that personality helps define. Personality shapes your experience of boredom. Boredom isn't just the absence of stimulation, it's a personality-dependent state. Extroverts experience boredom more frequently and intensely, their need for external stimulation going unmet. They're the people constantly seeking new activities, conversations, experiences. Introverts tolerate quiet and repetition better, finding stimulation in internal worlds. High openness makes people quickly bored with routine, but engaged by novelty. Low openness finds comfort in predictability. Conscientious people might resist boredom through self-discipline, finding purpose even in monotonous tasks. Understanding your boredom threshold can help you structure your life accordingly. Some people need constant variety, others need anchoring routines. Neither is better, but knowing your need helps you meet it. Personality affects your relationship with hope. Hope, that forward-looking optimism, varies by temperament. High neuroticism undermines hope, pessimism and anxiety, making positive futures hard to envision. Low neuroticism allows easy hopefulness. Openness fuels hope through imagination, envisioning multiple possible positive futures. Conscientiousness channels hope into concrete planning and goal pursuit. Extroverts often express hope socially, drawing energy from shared optimism. Introverts might hold hope privately, a quiet conviction rather than proclaimed enthusiasm. These differences matter profoundly. Hope influences health, motivation, resilience, and longevity. It's not just feeling good about the future. It's a temperamental stance toward time itself, whether tomorrow promises possibility or threatens disappointment. Personality influences how you say goodbye. Endings, like beginnings, are filtered through temperament. Highly agreeable people make goodbyes warm and accommodating, sometimes prolonging them to avoid hurting feelings. Low agreeableness allows for brief, clean departures. Extroverts might make leaving a social event challenging, drawn into one more conversation repeatedly. Introverts often execute the Irish goodbye, slipping away quietly to avoid draining farewell rituals. High neuroticism makes goodbyes emotionally intense, anxiety about separation or future reconnection rising up. Conscientiousness might manifest in thoughtful, planned farewells. These patterns extend from daily partings to major life transitions. How you leave spaces, relationships, and phases of life reveals deep truths about your temperament. Personality shapes your relationship with compliments. Receiving praise should feel good, but personality complicates it. Highly agreeable people accept compliments graciously, even when uncomfortable. Those low in agreeableness might dismiss or deflect them. High neuroticism makes compliments suspicious. Is this sincere? What do they want? The positive words get filtered through self-doubt. Low neuroticism allows straightforward acceptance. Introverts often feel awkward receiving public praise, while extroverts bask in it. Conscientious people might accept compliments about work readily, but struggle with personal ones. Even the compliments you remember versus forget, savor versus discount, reveal personality. Some temperaments let praise in. Others keep the door partly closed, protecting against disappointment, but also blocking nourishment. Personality affects your relationship with crowds. Density of humanity provokes different reactions in different temperaments. Extroverts often energize in crowds, feeding on collective energy and social possibility. Introverts feel drained, overstimulated, and eager to escape. High neuroticism makes crowds anxiety-inducing. Too many unpredictable elements to monitor. Low neuroticism allows comfortable navigation. Openness might make crowds interesting, all those different people and stories, while low openness finds them overwhelming or annoying. Conscientious people might avoid crowds due to inefficiency or plan carefully to manage them. These preferences extend beyond concerts and events to where people choose to live. Some temperaments need cities' density and stimulation. Others require space and quiet to feel like themselves. Personality influences your response to beauty. Beauty is supposed to be universal, transcending individual difference, but personality shapes aesthetic experience profoundly. People high in openness report more intense responses to beauty, whether in art, nature, or human form. They're more likely to be moved to tears, chills, or transcendent feelings. Those lower in openness might appreciate beauty more pragmatically, without emotional overwhelm. Extroverts share beautiful experiences, wanting to point them out and discuss them. Introverts absorb beauty privately, letting it resonate internally. High neuroticism can make beauty bittersweet, tinged with melancholy about its transience. These differences remind us that beauty isn't in the object alone, but in the meeting between object and observer, shaped by the observer's temperamental lens. Personality shapes your experience of revenge. When wronged, people's responses vary by temperament. Those low in agreeableness are more likely to seek revenge, viewing it as justice and feeling satisfied by balancing scales. High agreeableness makes people more forgiving, prioritizing relationship repair over retribution. High neuroticism might fuel revenge fantasies, but also make actual revenge anxiety-inducing. Extroverts might confront wrongdoers directly, while introverts plot or simply withdraw. Conscientiousness can manifest as principled forgiveness or methodical, patient revenge. These patterns raise questions about free will. If your response to being wronged is largely determined by temperament, are you choosing to forgive or simply unable to hold a grudge? Personality shapes even our most moral decisions. Personality affects your relationship with your voice. Some people love hearing recordings of themselves. Others cringe. High neuroticism makes people hypercritical of their recorded voice, focusing on flaws and imagining others' judgments. Low neuroticism allows comfortable acceptance. Extroverts often enjoy their voice, using it expressively and frequently. Introverts might be more conscious of their voice, monitoring tone and volume. Openness can make people experimental with voice, trying accents or vocal styles. Conscientious people might work deliberately to improve vocal qualities. Even volume preference reflects temperament. Extroverts naturally speak louder, introverts softer. Your voice is your primary tool for expression, yet personality determines whether it feels like friend or betrayer. Personality influences your relationship with tradition. Tradition, the accumulated wisdom and rituals of the past, means different things to different temperaments. High conscientiousness creates tradition keepers who find meaning in continuity and ritual. They're the ones ensuring family recipes are preserved, holidays celebrated properly. Low conscientiousness cares less about how it's always been done. High openness makes people question tradition, testing which elements serve current needs. Low openness accepts tradition without scrutiny, finding comfort in established patterns. These differences create generational and cultural tensions. Some personalities need tradition's anchor, others need freedom from its constraints. Both impulses are necessary. Tradition without questioning becomes ossified. Innovation without tradition becomes rootless. Personality shapes your punctuality. Being on time isn't just about time management, it's temperamental. Conscientious people are reliably punctual, viewing timeliness as a moral obligation and experiencing genuine distress when running late. Those low in conscientiousness have a more flexible relationship with time, arriving when they arrive without much anxiety. Neuroticism can make people either compulsively early, anxiety about being late driving excessive buffer time, or chronically late due to anxiety-induced paralysis during preparation. Extroverts might run late due to social delays, one more conversation holding them. Introverts might arrive early to settle in before others arrive. These patterns aren't character flaws or virtues, but expressions of how personality organizes temporal experience. Personality affects your relationship with eye contact. Looking into someone's eyes is basic human interaction, yet personality determines how it feels. Extroverts make easy, sustained eye contact, using it to build connection. Introverts find prolonged eye contact draining or invasive, looking away to think or protect inner space. High neuroticism makes eye contact anxiety, inducing vulnerability and potential judgment felt acutely. Low neuroticism allows comfortable gazing. Agreeableness promotes appropriate eye contact as part of social harmony. Low agreeableness might result in challenging, aggressive staring or avoidant lack of eye contact. Even this basic non-verbal behavior, happening hundreds of times daily, is filtered through temperament, shaping how connected or isolated we feel in every exchange. Personality influences your relationship with food. What, when, and how you eat reflects more than hunger. Conscientious people tend toward regular meal times, balanced nutrition, and mindful eating. Those low in conscientiousness eat more impulsively and irregularly. High neuroticism correlates with emotional eating, using food to manage stress or anxiety. Openness predicts adventurous eating, trying new cuisines and unusual foods. Low openness sticks to familiar favorites. Extroverts prefer social eating, meals as gatherings. Introverts are more comfortable eating alone. Even chewing speed correlates with personality. These patterns can influence health significantly. Understanding your temperamental relationship with food can help you develop eating habits that work with, not against, your nature. Personality shapes your experience of déjà vu. That uncanny feeling of having lived a moment before doesn't visit everyone equally. People high in openness report more frequent déjà vu experiences, possibly because they're more attuned to unusual mental states and more willing to report them. Neurotic individuals also experience it more often, perhaps due to heightened attention to internal experiences and anomalies. Extroverts might discuss déjà vu when it happens, while introverts notice but keep it private. The phenomenon itself likely has neurological causes, memory systems misfiring briefly. But personality determines whether you notice, how you interpret it, and whether you find it fascinating, unsettling, or barely worth noting. Even glitches in consciousness are experienced through temperamental filters. Personality influences the stories you tell about yourself. The narrative of your life isn't objective history, but a personality-shaped construction. People high in neuroticism often craft stories emphasizing challenges, struggles, and moments of vulnerability. Their life narrative has a darker, more complicated tone. Those low in neuroticism construct sunnier narratives, emphasizing growth and positive outcomes. Extroverts' stories feature other people and social triumphs. Introverts focus on inner development and solitary realizations. Openness creates stories of transformation and exploration. Conscientiousness emphasizes achievement and overcoming obstacles through discipline. These aren't lies, but temperamental truth. We each author the story of our life in our personality's voice, selecting which scenes to include and what they mean. Personality affects your relationship with repetition. Routine is inescapable, but how we experience it varies dramatically. High openness makes repetition feel deadening. Novelty needed to stay engaged. Even favorite activities lose appeal when done too often. Low openness finds comfort in repetition, the familiar soothing rather than boring. Conscientiousness helps people maintain beneficial repetitions, exercise, practice, daily disciplines, even when motivation wanes. Extroverts might need to vary the social context of repeated activities to stay engaged. Introverts can repeat solitary activities indefinitely. These differences affect everything from career satisfaction to relationship dynamics. Some people need constant change, others need reliable patterns. Honoring your repetition tolerance can prevent burnout and foster sustainability. Personality shapes your relationship with anger. Everyone experiences anger, but personality determines its flavor and expression. People high in neuroticism feel anger more frequently and intensely, often mixed with anxiety or hurt. Those low in neuroticism experience anger less often and recover quickly. High agreeableness suppresses anger expression to maintain harmony, sometimes at personal cost. Low agreeableness expresses anger more freely, less concerned with others' discomfort. Extroverts tend toward explosive expressions, while introverts might stew silently or process anger privately. Conscientiousness can make anger about violations of rules or principles. Openness might fuel anger at injustice or closed-mindedness. Understanding your anger style helps manage it constructively. Anger itself is neutral. How personality channels it determines whether it destroys or clarifies. Personality influences your comfort with ambiguity. Life rarely offers clear answers, and tolerance for this reality is temperamental. High neuroticism makes ambiguity uncomfortable, the absence of certainty triggering anxiety and a desperate search for resolution. Low neuroticism allows comfortable dwelling in gray areas. Openness actually enjoys ambiguity, finding it intellectually stimulating to hold multiple possibilities. Low openness prefers black and white clarity. Conscientious people might reduce ambiguity through information gathering and planning. These differences appear in career choices. Some professions demand ambiguity, tolerance, while others provide clear structures. They appear in relationships too. Some people need constant clarity about where they stand. Others are comfortable with undefined, evolving connections. Neither approach is universally better, but mismatches create friction. Personality affects how much you trust your memory. Memory confidence varies by temperament in ways that don't always match accuracy. People low in neuroticism tend to trust their memories, while those high in neuroticism second-guess themselves even when correct. Conscientious people often have better actual memory due to attention to detail, but might not feel more confident. Extroverts sometimes remember social events with high confidence but low accuracy. Their attention spread across many interactions. Introverts might have detailed memory for fewer events. Openness can make people aware of memory's reconstructive nature, knowing that what they remember has been edited by time and emotion. This awareness can undermine confidence even when memories are accurate. Trust in memory is partly about the memory itself, partly about trust in self. Personality shapes your experience of freedom. Freedom's a universal value, but what it means varies by temperament. For high openness, freedom means possibility, choice, escape from constraint. They feel most free when exploring options. For high conscientiousness, freedom might mean the discipline to pursue long-term goals without distraction. They feel free when structured. Extroverts experience freedom through social connection and expression. Introverts feel most free in solitude. High neuroticism can make freedom feel overwhelming, too many choices creating anxiety. Low neuroticism embraces freedom easily. These differences extend to political and philosophical views. One person's freedom is another's chaos. One person's structure is another's prison. Personality determines which constraints we need and which we resist. Personality influences your response to silence in conversation. When a conversation pauses, different temperaments react differently. Extroverts often fill silence quickly, experiencing it as awkward or heavy. They're the ones restarting conversation before the pause fully settles. Introverts are introverts, comfortable letting silence linger, using it to think or simply rest. High neuroticism can make conversational silence anxiety-inducing, minds racing to interpret what it means. Low neuroticism treats silence as neutral space. Agreeableness might make people break silence out of concern for others' comfort. These micro-patterns shape every interaction. Some conversations flow with many pauses, others rush continuously. Neither is wrong, but when temperaments mismatch, one person's comfortable reflection is another's unbearable void demanding to be filled. Personality affects your relationship with your past self. How you view who you used to be is surprisingly temperamental. People high in neuroticism often judge past selves harshly, cringing at old decisions and behaviors. They carry regret more heavily. Those low in neuroticism view past selves with more acceptance, even fondness. High openness makes people see growth and change. Past selves as different, people on a journey. Low openness maintains more continuity, feeling largely the same across time. Conscientious people might be critical of past failures, but also proud of achievements. These views aren't just nostalgic, they shape current self-esteem and future orientation. If you view your past self with compassion, you're more likely to extend that compassion to your current and future self. Personality shapes your vulnerability to burnout. Burnout doesn't strike randomly. Certain temperamental patterns increase susceptibility. High neuroticism makes people more vulnerable. Chronic stress depleting emotional resources faster. Perfectionist conscientiousness, the inability to accept good enough, drives people to exhaustion. Low extroversion in highly social jobs creates constant drain. High agreeableness makes it hard to set boundaries, saying yes until resources are depleted. Conversely, moderate conscientiousness with good boundaries protects against burnout. So does extroversion in social professions and emotional stability. Understanding your vulnerability profile helps you structure work and life to prevent depletion. Some people can handle intense demands for years. Others need careful pacing and frequent recovery. Neither is weakness. Both are temperamental reality. Personality influences your relationship with control. Everyone wants control over their life, but the need's intensity varies. High neuroticism drives intense control needs, uncertainty, and chaos, triggering anxiety that demands management. People high in this trait often try to control everything possible, from schedules to others' behaviors. Low neuroticism allows comfortable relinquishing of control. Conscientious people value control as a path to goals. Openness might make people less controlling, comfortable with spontaneity and emergence. These patterns create relationship dynamics. Two high neuroticism people might battle for control, while two low neuroticism people might drift without direction. Understanding control needs helps negotiate relationships and choose environments. Some people need to drive. Others are happy as passengers. Forcing a passenger to drive creates anxiety. Forcing a driver into the passenger seat creates frustration. Personality shapes your experience of coincidence. When meaningful coincidences occur, personality determines interpretation. People high in openness are more likely to notice coincidences and assign them significance, seeing patterns and connections others miss. They might view coincidences as meaningful synchronicities. Those low in openness might not notice them or dismiss them as random. High neuroticism can make coincidences feel ominous or anxiety-provoking. Conscientious people might seek logical explanations, uncomfortable with unexplained patterns. Extroverts share coincidences as stories, while introverts ponder them privately. The coincidence itself is neutral, two events occurring together. But personality determines whether it's fascinating, meaningless, unsettling, or cosmic. Even chance is experienced through the temperamental lens. And here, as our journey through personality draws gently to a close, we find ourselves back where we began, with the recognition that you are a unique constellation of traits, patterns, and tendencies, that the way you move through the world is shaped by forces both visible and invisible, by genes and experiences, by choices and circumstances, by the quiet architecture of temperament that underlies it all. Perhaps some of these facts have resonated deeply, lighting up aspects of yourself you recognized but couldn't name, or perhaps they've shown you how different other people's inner worlds might be from your own. Either way, the landscape of personality is vast and endlessly fascinating. A reminder that beneath all our surface similarities, each of us experiences reality through our own particular lens. You don't need to remember everything we've explored tonight. Let it drift, settle, or fade as it will. The mystery of personality will still be there tomorrow, waiting in every choice you make, every preference you notice, every pattern that makes you distinctly you. If you're still awake, you can continue on to the next video. But if your eyes are heavy and your thoughts are softening into dreams, then simply let yourself go. Let the gentle understanding wash over you that you are who you are, shaped by countless influences into something entirely unique, something no one else can quite replicate, something worthy of curiosity, compassion, and quiet wonder. Sleep well, and good night.